Now, we talked about this web scrape yesterday. By the way, we had an email chain where our producer sent this to Stevie, and they're like, Frank wasn't happy with this. He's what, the picture? It's like, no, the article overall, which says England are the team to beat at the Euros. This is what Frank made of Mark Ogdens' article yesterday.
Between the fans and the media in England, you know, being so, I would say, overconfident about their teams, you know, football is coming home, we have the best team now, we are much armed individually than France, as Mark Ogden say. You bring something which is not good for the players. Let them play, support them, just say the reality of the facts, and that's it. I don't think England is better than France. I don't think France is better than England. Don't try to compare. Don't try to create rivalry or, you know, hating situation by the fact that you think that your team is the best in the world. No, it's not, because we don't know anything about that. And I just want a little bit of humility, and that's coming from a French guy, to English media and English fans. In Mark's article, it says names players that England naming players are better than any French players, that everywhere on the field except Mbappe, England is better than the French team. I'm sorry. As centre backs, for example, no, we have like 8 great centre backs. They have almost none. You know, he's talking about, well, they're the right back, okay. In the middle of the park, they have Bellingham, but after that, we have Camavinga, we have Tchouaméni, we have Rabiot, we have Griezmann, and we have some others, you know.
Let's welcome in then. Stewart Robson's with us, but when you think arrogant, over-optimistic, lacking humility, you think of Mark Ogden. Mark, you have the right to reply, I suppose.
Yeah, well, the purpose of the article was to say that England have no more excuses, because every time they go to a major tournament, they go with the big hype, which I've obviously created this time, and they come back with the tails between the legs. But there is always an excuse to England, but on this occasion, there are no more excuses. And I made the point that France are probably the strongest team in Europe, but this wasn't a dismantling of France. The point was that England and France are probably ahead of Spain and Portugal at a time when Italy were in a mess, the Dutch were in a mess, Germany in a mess. So England have everything in their favour. Now, the one thing they probably don't have in their favour is the coach. If they had a world-class coach, I would back England to win the Euros. With Gareth Southgate, I do worry that they're a little bit too cautious, too negative. But, you know, to Frank's point, you know, France are a great team. But if France was such a great team, they would have won the World Cup last year. And I know he did a team of a combined team in England and France, and there was, I think, only 3 English players in it. Well, if he'd done the same thing before the World Cup final, there probably would have been 1 Argentinian player in it and 10 French players, but they still didn't win. So it's not about having the best array of players, it's about having the best team. And I think England, as much as it probably pains people like Stevie to believe this, are a very good team right now. You know, they absolutely destroyed Italy at Wembley on Tuesday night. And Italy, you know, the European champions, going through a bad patch, but they are still Italy. So England have lots of great players. Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka. These are great world-class players. So why shouldn't England be optimistic? And that's coming from me, who is the most negative English person you could imagine when it comes to England.
No, I'm afraid you're not, because we have to give that award to Stewart Robson, who for some reason has always led with this anti-English narrative. You've lived through it all, Robbo, when it comes to the hype that the media have around various England teams and golden generations, etc. Is this time different?
It is, because, as Mark just said, there's 3 or 4 nations that aren't doing particularly well at the moment. France are probably the favourites, but England have a good squad of players. I wouldn't go as far to say there was so many players that would walk into other teams, other national teams in Europe. I would only say 3. I would say Bellingham, definitely. Harry Kane, definitely. Walker, at the moment, is an outstanding right back and will get in any team. And I might put Rice in. I think Spain might argue with that because Rodri's playing brilliantly. So, but those are the only 4 players that would walk into any other national side in Europe. I think what Mark's also trying to say, and I 100% agree with him, if they had a coach of the highest order, they've got every chance of winning the Euros. But Gareth Southgate has done a brilliant job in getting good team spirit, getting the players wanting to play for England, getting good harmony. But when it's mattered most, in the big games, the semi-finals and the final of the European Championships, he wasn't able to make the right decisions to make England go and win. And that's the biggest problem. And that's what Mark is saying. They've got a great squad of players. They're in a lot of them are in good form. They're all at the right age. Have they got the manager to take them to the very top? I doubt it.
Stephen Nicol.
But Frank surprises me that he doesn't take Rice, because Frank was banging this drum that they don't have a defensive midfielder.
Right.
That's the biggest problem they have. So I don't understand why he doesn't mention Rice, because 100% Rice gets in the French team. And you're talking about 4 Englishmen would play in any team in Europe. Well, by the way, that's more than a third of the whole team.
Good maths.
More than a third. It's not like we're talking about 1 or 2 players. We're talking about a third of the team. And the fact that the press might get carried away they used to, I don't think will affect this team. You know, previous England teams weren't sure how good they were and couldn't take the pressure. This team knows it's a kick in the backside off winning a major tournament. It knows it. And Southgate's done a good job of keeping them away from the media and not getting involved in that. So I don't see that changing. However, I absolutely 100% agree that the one thing that could hold them back is Southgate.
Really?
Aye. I think if you've got a Pep or a Klopp or even a Bielsa, you've got a manager who it's just going to inspire. They're going to go forward. It's going to be about us. It's not going to be anything about them. We're better than them. If we're at our best, we're going to win this game. Because England's a great team. It really is. And it is really between them and France, in my opinion, in Europe. And so, yeah, I'm with the boys. If Southgate wasn't the manager and it was somebody like Pep, for example, or Klopp, somebody who pushes them forward, somebody who gets behind them and not takes chances, but calculated risks going forward. With the amount of good players you have going forward, you can take calculated risks. And he won't do that. And that's ultimately, I think, the small thing that might hold them back.
Mark, I want to ask you a weird question, slightly off topic, because Bellingham came out and said, obviously, after that win against Italy, I want to stay at Real Madrid for 10 to 15 years. If that indeed is the case, do you think he will ever be as appreciated as he would be if he played in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think there's a real excitement about Jude Bellingham in England right now. And obviously, it's sad for the Premier League that he's not playing there, but I think everybody's aware what a great player he is. And I think if he continues to play as he does for England, if he can help England win a tournament, then he'd be absolutely massive. He'd be one of the biggest favourites you'd ever seen if he'd ever kicks a ball. Well, I mean, he has played for Birmingham in the Championship, but in terms of the Premier League. So I don't think that will affect his standing. I think he's an obvious candidate to be the next England captain whenever Harry Kane is no longer the captain. So he is going to be the poster boy of English football for the next 10 years. And, you know, but for that to succeed as he wants it to, he has to win a trophy. We've had a golden generation before, haven't we, with England? And it was probably a better team than this one, a better squad than this one, if you look back at the players that England had at the time. But this is a new golden generation, and Jude Bellingham will want to be the guy that lifts the trophies that this team really should be winning, you know, with or without Gareth Southgate as manager. The one thing about Southgate I would say, though, to back up the lads, last night was a worrying part for me in the sense that he had a chance to be a bit more adventurous, but he picked Calvin Phillips alongside Declan Rice in midfield. He could have put John Stones in midfield. He could have called up Rico Lewis from Man City. He could have put Bellingham further back and played James Maddison, but he played Calvin Phillips, and that was a bit of an alarm bell for me going into the Euros.
France favourites for you then, Robbo?
Just about, because of their knowledge, and they've got great confidence that they can go and win tournaments.